Hello, everyone, and welcome to EyeSee's webinar titled Getting to the Root of Behavior, Behavioral Decision Trees. Today, we'll talk about adding a behavioral component to decision trees and using virtual shopping as a kind of a reality check for research. My name is Sanya, and honestly, I'm so excited about today's webinar for two reasons. One, we're about to show you the details of a brand new product we developed, and two, we're going to be presenting the results of a meta-analysis we did on comparing survey and virtual shopping results. And the results of that are pretty astounding, I have to say, and they might shake up what we think we know about these methodologies. But first up, some housekeeping info. This webinar will last for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. It is pre-recorded, but our panelists will be here live and they will be responding to any of your questions via the Q&A section at the right-hand side and also later via email. So now let me introduce our three amazing guests. First up, we have Maria Đorđević, who is the product director at EyeSee. She's an expert at crafting new products that marry tech and insights expertise and deliver the biggest impact to our clients. Hello, Maria, and welcome.
Hello, Sanya. Excited to be here today.
Then we welcome Heather Graham, Business Development Director at EyeSee, who works with our US clients and is an expert in retail research. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Sanya. Thanks for the introduction. I'm excited to be here.
And finally, we have Diego Adolfo Chavez Terrazas, Country Lead and Insights Director at EyeSee Mexico, who will be presenting the study findings that I just mentioned. Hello, Diego, and welcome.
Hi, Sanya. Nice to see you.
Now, let's set the tone with some important but uncomfortable stats about how consumers interact with brands and just how loyal they are. Did you know that over a third of shoppers will spend more on a product if they're loyal to a brand? Another thing to know is that recruiting new customers costs 5 times more than retaining existing ones. So now the question is, what happens in stores when your consumers have to make a trade-off in shopping? Do they stick with your brand or switch to a substitute product instantly? And how do you learn about what happens in these situations? Well, a tool that allows you to pretty accurately measure actual decision-making that is made in front of the shelf is a behavioral decision tree. Maria, can you tell us more about this solution and how is a behavioral decision tree different from a standard decision tree?
Yes, sure. A general description of the method is that decision trees are graphical representations that assist manufacturers and retailers in understanding how consumers make decisions in front of a product category shelf. They result in defined product hierarchies and helps category segmentation, simplify the shopper experience, and if understood and adjusted properly, maximize the entire category sales. It is also visually very interesting and exciting to see all of the decisions traced out in a single diagram. The difference is very important, and I can't stress this enough. We use virtual shopping in this solution, meaning we look at the actual behavior in front of the virtual shelf and not at what people say they will do, which is rather infamous issue in the research.
Yes, like Maria said, there are two key benefits here. The first is not relying on survey, stated attitudes, claimed future behavior, but putting shoppers in context via virtual shopping. Secondly, a thing which is extremely relevant during the pandemic, but also beyond, not having to use face-to-face interviews, but running the study with thousands of shoppers online, making decision trees scalable. And our incredible design team has a library of retail shelves in 2D, in 2.5D, and even whole 3D stores.
And Maria, what are some of the things people might be surprised to learn about this process?
Well, in fact, one of the most common questions regarding decision trees is why does it require such a large sample size? Large meaning starting from 1,000 respondents, depending on the situation and category. This is because we need to represent the entire tested category and all the relevant product attributes and their levels, such as brand, price, type of pack, size of pack, functionalities, and sometimes category-specific attributes. To be able to cover all relevant product attributes and their levels, and to cover all these market segments exhaustively, we must conduct research on bigger samples. The second most common question or issue is related to the definition of a category. A category is defined by how shoppers group products based on their needs or usage and products interchangeability. For example, a common definition for cola and non-cola soda drinks should be carbonated soft drinks category, because shoppers could switch between cola and orange soda, but would not logically use milk to satisfy the same need state. So we need to be very precise about choosing and deciding on the right boundaries of the category to get the most relevant insights about the entire competitive landscape across it.
Can you tell us a bit more about the process? What is it like for the respondents to participate in a decision tree study?
Yes, first and foremost, I would say it is very realistic, but also a bit of fun if you ask me. So the respondents are invited to participate in a study via panel company, and they fill out a pre-survey which screens on the target group specifications provided by the client. First up is the behavioral evaluation phase. We use an out-of-stock exercise in which the respondents are exposed to virtual shelves and instructed to click on the product they want to buy. After selecting one product, it is listed as out of stock, and they need to pick another one or to simply end the exercise. The exercise repeats 5 times. After task completion, respondents fill out a questionnaire evaluating their overall shopper experience.
Can you tell us about the different types of shopper behavior in these situations? I mean, in FMCG, how should our clients act to understand and retain these shoppers?
The decision tree output shows which product attributes are the ones that the shoppers will not be willing to sacrifice when faced with an out-of-stock situation. These are the ones which are the least substitutable. So we had one pilot study, it was a toothpaste category, and it showed that functionality is the attribute that is by far more important than the pack type or pack size, for instance, which shopper change quite easily. What does this mean for the retailers and manufacturers? Well, they need to follow the tree to create corresponding visual blocks in the planogram. And for the top 3 levels of the tree, it is a must to create clean blocks that are easy to find on the shelf. So the 3 levels dictate how substitutable a product is for a shopper. The higher the level, the less substitutable the product is. There is a simple yet effective framework that we used for interpreting the results and identifying consumer segments. And based on our tests, we realized that there are 4 types of shoppers when it comes to brand loyalty. The first group are the instant switchers, who abandon the brands immediately after first round of shopping in the out-of-stock exercise. They don't pick the brand in the later steps. The second group we call the switchers. They abandon the brand between second and fifth shopping exercise and don't return to the brand by the end of it. We call the third group the risky ones. They abandon the brand at some point, but come back to their initial choice in the 5th attempt. And finally, the fourth group are the loyal shoppers, which are consistently buying the same brand in all of our out-of-stock exercises. When you know how the sample spreads across each of those 4 types of consumers, you can start to think about how to assist their shopping and ensure your brand is not ignored due to a bad planogram, or that you have a chance as a replacement for your competitor. And from where do these buyers come? What triggers them to make the switch? It very clearly ranks consumer priorities. If a shelf is not executed properly, it is frustrating and can affect sales.
Heather, how important is it that researchers have adequate category knowledge to interpret decision tree outputs?
Well, being well-versed in a specific product category helps us understand the buyers and their needs, and then transform the data gained in this research into concrete recommendations for our clients. Decision trees deliver such a wealth of data on categories, subcategories, segments, subsegments. And just like planogram studies, when you're looking at the entire shelf, there are so many moving parts that are mutually dependent. But with a decision tree output, its beauty is in the simplicity of it. It really helps you and your stakeholders make sense of all of it at a glance. As you go down the diagram, you discover new and deeper info, and you begin to understand how consumers discern between products, even if it doesn't fully align with what's on shelf or your ingoing assumptions, which happens. So everybody needs to be prepared as they're, getting the results. Of course, the most important output is the behavioral decision tree, which shows the behavioral importance of the product attributes, all the things described earlier. Another valuable output that can be included is one, frankly, I'm almost as excited about as the decision tree map itself. Our brand gain and loss analysis can tell you the proportion who switched from your brand to competitive brand X, etc., and when in the decision process, or who switched from brand X to your brand and when in the decision process. Maria outlined the 4 types of shoppers, but this is even more granular and can show you where and to whom repertoire or loyalties lie, which is super cool. We can also include the stated importance of the attributes, brand recall, dominant occasions, like when a product is going to get used, and missions, as well as the ease of shopping and shelf organization perceptions. So using this methodology, you really get a 360-degree view of the shopper and the shelf by using both implicit and explicit methods and behavioral in a single study.
What are decision trees mostly used for, and what other solutions can help complete the learnings about the decision-making process for our clients?
Well, and even as I was just speaking, right, it's a really versatile tool. It helps navigate the complexity of category management. But as you said, its benefits spill over to other areas as well. For example, right, most commonly used for shelf optimization, planogram creation. But beyond that, we can identify gaps in assortment and look for areas that are hiding some innovation opportunities. If we're seeing consumers make decisions that are unexpected or in a different path, that could be a gap for a new product. Learnings from decision tree studies can be used as a great source of input for a communication strategy even, since they uncover the relevant purchase motives in a given category. Those things can be used for in-store prompts, on-pack claims, and then finally, they can aid in distribution optimization. If we find that a product just doesn't have the switching behavior, a brand doesn't have the switching behavior that one might expect, then we know that needs to be in stock all the time at retailers. To answer your second question, the decision tree is a perfect product to match with our planogram solution as an upgrade, as a tie-in. Together, they're a fantastic way to create and identify a winning planogram for our clients and their retailer customers. When clients are done with a decision tree project, they can run a planogram test with those learnings to see if they've been adequately applied in that planogram plan, if you will, on the shelf arrangement, or if they need to optimize it to reap all the benefits for their brand first, of course, but often these projects are for sell-in conversations to retailer customers. And so making sure that we have both the test brand represented, but also the whole category represented makes those conversations so much easier. Here again, virtual shelves enable the perfect testing ground, right? We're leaving respondents in context, always in the right context, doing the action of shopping rather than just talking about it or imagining it. And on the other hand, researchers, our clients, us, we get to play a little bit, right? We get to create shelves. It creates a great way to devise experimental settings that ensures high quality quant data. And any findings that we find are attributed to the variables, not external factors, which is often the case with in-person research or smaller samples. And I know that's one question that our clients might have is, why do we need to have such large samples? And I know Maria touched on this a little bit, but to provide the brand's gain and loss analysis to make sure that we have a super stable model and have our clients most equipped to understanding how your brand will perform and how the category will perform, those sample sizes help us do that.
Thank you so much, Maria and Heather. This was very informative and useful. Now, for the last part of our conversation today, we'll present the results of a big metadata analysis we did on virtual shopping. That is the star of this and many other solutions. Like we just discussed, adding virtual shopping to any kind of study serves as a reality check. Will consumers really do as they say? Do the ads you're investing in have a positive impact on shopping? And how does your shiny new packaging affect sales in a busy supermarket context? And tons of others. Previous studies have shown that our virtual shopping methodology has a 0.8 correlation with actual retail audit sellout data. Now let's see how survey fares when compared with it, and why is virtual shopping such a versatile and reliable method? Diego, can you tell us more about why we set out to run this metadata analysis?
Sure, Sanya, it'll be my pleasure. We're continuously working at improving our methods and solutions, and putting them to the test, as you just said. The objective of this analysis was to understand how different are the results of our virtual shopping, a behavioral methodology, compared to the traditional approach of a purchase intent scale. And with this, validate our recommendations based on a simulated environment have a greater use for our clients. The simulated environment for us means that our respondents are not seeing ads in isolation, but in a cluttered social media feed. The way we evaluate packaging is not only in a standalone mode, but in a very close to real shelf situation in a store, with its competitors surrounding it. And finally, that our respondents are not answering to survey questions only, but have to make a shopping decision on the spot. That is the essence of the way we do research. Now, knowing all this, virtual shopping can also help us satisfy our researchers' curiosity and answer broader questions. For example, about the different KPIs we use in other methods. Like you said, it is a type of a reality check, a way to compare other findings to a behavior that is strongly grounded in reality.
Now tell us more. What was the scope of the study?
Sure. My colleagues, Jelisaveta Milovanovic, Alexandra Mar, and myself ran this meta-analysis on over 35,000 respondents from dozens of projects across FMCG industries that we have made in different geographies in order to see how survey results compare to virtual shopping data. In a nutshell, the results say that it's important that you're very careful if you're trying to make decisions based only on a stated purchase intent, whether top box or top to box, as the use of a scale has an implicit error in it. We made a comparison of the possible variance in responses and where the errors and the correct answers are to be found. First, there are those people who stated in the purchase intent questions that they wouldn't buy the product, and in the virtual shopping simulation, they actually didn't end up buying the product. In this case, the purchase intent was a correct predictor, or what we call in statistics a true negative. Then there are the ones who stated that they would not buy the product, but actually did buy it when they were at the shelf. And in this case, the stated measure was the wrong predictor. It failed to capture a true response or estimation of a future behavior, and we get a false negative result. Obviously, you do not want this happening if you're launching a pack redesign, for example, as what you're looking for in the research is reassurance and confidence that you are on the right track with your design. And most importantly, that the research predicts accurately the sales results. But things get more complicated with the stated intention to buy. The third group are the respondents who said they will buy the product, but they didn't. Those are the most misleading, and they are the so-called liars. Here, the stated intent was a bad predictor that gave us a false positive result. And finally, we have the true positive. These are the respondents we need to predict sales. as these are the people who said they will buy the product and actually ended up buying it. The problem with this is that when you look at the comparison of both purchase intent scale and virtual shopping, you can see just how far off the purchase intent measure is, making it incredibly unreliable and merits extreme caution if you're basing big decisions on it. On a total brand level, and comparing versus the virtual shopping method, we saw that using a stated purchase intent scale could lead to an overestimation of purchase of 71% when using top-to-box, and an underestimation of 8% of purchase when using top box. Now, on an SKU level, things are even more extreme and paint a very correct picture. The overestimation of the top-to-box is around 455%. And for the top box, the overestimation is around 157%. That compared with the real exercise of virtual shopping.
Those numbers are huge. What does this mean for our clients and just how big of an issue it is?
This actually is a big issue, as many decisions are taken mainly with the KPI of stated purchase intent. We have to remember that the question of purchase intent is made in an isolated context, which excludes the real situation in front of a shelf. For example, using the results of a stated purchase intent could link to a wrong assumption of product trial, wrong decision taking towards different options of packaging, and even more problems if these results are used to predict sales of a product.
Thanks so much for this. And now, if you were talking to some of our clients who are listening today, and as you were also once on the client side, what would be your one big takeaway from this study or about the decision tree product?
Sure. For many years, I must confess that as a client, I have been suggesting decisions based on stated purchase intent results. But now, taking a look at how the results of virtual shopping divert from those of the stated purchase intent, my recommendation for any client is that the action standard for a research that uses purchase as a KPI should aim to a prediction of sales in the shelf, not to a minimum of top box or top-to-box results in a purchase intent scale. This will give a better predictor based on a simulation closer to reality than just the traditional scale question.
Well, let's turn to Maria and Heather once again. Any last thoughts and recommendations you would like to share?
Like Diego just said, my biggest takeaway and the advice to clients would be that by using only a survey-based approach, we cannot grasp the fine nuances of shopper behavior, and their actions don't necessarily follow what they say. Expand your research toolkits with a combination of methods and see for yourself the difference it can make to the depth of your research findings.
This is behavioral and also provides so much information and insight into category management, brand management, portfolio management. I'm really excited to bring this service to our clients to help you be as successful at retail as possible.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks, Diego and Maria. And thank you to all of you who joined us today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope you did too. I hope it was useful. If there's something you'd like to learn more about, if you want to talk to these people about what we just discussed, feel free to reach out to us. We're available on social media, on this email, and we're really, really looking forward to seeing you again at another webinar in the future. Thank you and stay safe.